The mountains have a powerful pull, a magnetic force that calls to those who crave adventure and solitude. Their silent, snow-draped peaks promise both challenge and reward, drawing in those who seek to test themselves against nature's rawest elements. For a seasoned hiker from Mechanicville, New York, that pull was irresistible. He'd spent years exploring trails and summits, but the winter wilderness always offered something new, a test of skill, endurance, and spirit. He set out for a 2-day winter trek in the Dix Range of the Adirondacks. Rugged, steep, and unforgiving, the Dix Range is notorious for its remote, challenging terrain, especially in the depths of winter when snow and ice transform every step into a calculated risk. His plan was ambitious: summit multiple peaks, navigate icy ridges, and camp overnight in the heart of the mountains. He mapped out his route carefully, knowing that in winter, even a simple mistake could have serious consequences. The goal was to finish the traverse the next day, pushing through the cold and fatigue to complete a journey few attempt in these conditions. He was well prepared: maps, compass, cold weather gear, food, and a sleeping bag rated for sub-zero nights. Every item was chosen with care, each piece of equipment a lifeline in the harsh environment. The snow crunched under his boots as he moved through the silent, breathtaking wilderness. The only sounds were the wind in the trees and his own steady breath, a reminder of how alone he truly was out there. For hours, everything went smoothly. He made good time, warmed by the climb and the beauty around him. The sun glinted off the snow, and the world felt endless and full of possibility. But in the Adirondacks, beauty and danger are inseparable. The same landscape that inspires awe can turn treacherous in a heartbeat. As the day wore on, the mountain's true nature emerged. The wind picked up, clouds gathered, and the temperature began to drop rapidly. The wilderness doesn't care about your plans, it has its own. Out here, you're at the mercy of forces far beyond your control. He pushed onward, feeling strong and in control, but the mountain was watching. Every step forward was a negotiation with the elements, a test of resolve. His goal was within reach, but the environment was shifting. The sky darkened and the wind howled louder, carrying with it the promise of a storm. In the wild, things can change in an instant. One moment, you're making progress. The next, you're fighting to stay safe. And on this trip, they did. The mountain had its own plans, and soon, he would be forced to confront them head-on. By afternoon, the weather turned brutal. The sky, once a pale winter blue, darkened with the approach of a fierce storm. The mountains seemed to vanish behind a curtain of swirling snow and wind, as if the entire landscape was being swallowed by the elements. Temperatures dropped rapidly, and a biting wind swept the ridgelines with a force that felt almost personal. The gusts howled through the trees and over the exposed rock, carrying with them a chill that cut straight to the bone. Every exposed inch of skin stung with the cold, and even the thickest layers of clothing felt inadequate. Wind chill made the cold feel deadly. It was no longer just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. The air itself seemed to sap energy and hope, numbing fingers and toes in minutes. Breathing in felt like inhaling shards of ice. The hiker felt it immediately, cold seeping through every layer, finding every weakness in his gear. The sun, which had offered a faint promise of warmth, vanished behind thick, rolling clouds. Shadows deepened, and the world took on a gray, ominous hue. Snow began to fall, first gently, then in a blinding squall. Within minutes, visibility dropped to near zero. Landmarks disappeared into the swirling white, and the trail was gone, erased by the relentless storm. The forest and mountains became a maze of shifting shadows and snowdrifts. He was surrounded by a white void, disoriented and alone. The silence was broken only by the roar of the wind and the crunch of snow underfoot. By Wednesday morning, the world was hostile. Temperatures neared zero overnight, and the cold pressed in from every direction, relentless and unforgiving. Even with good gear, the cold was relentless. Packing up was a struggle. Every movement was a battle against frozen zippers and stiff, icy fabric. Exhaustion set in quickly, muscles aching from the effort of simply staying warm. The mountain was no longer a challenge, it was a trap, tightening its grip with every passing hour. He realized he was in trouble. Extreme cold, deep snow, and fatigue were taking their toll. Each breath felt heavier, and his mind began to cloud with worry. The weight of his pack seemed to double, and every step forward was a test of willpower. Each step was harder than the last, his pace slowed to a crawl. The plan to summit peaks was abandoned. Now, it was about survival. The mission had changed. The mountain demanded everything he had. He was fighting to stay alive, every decision now a matter of life or death. The wilderness was indifferent to his struggle, offering no mercy. This is the moment every adventurer dreads, when the game turns to survival. The wilderness was in control, and he was running out of time. The cold, The wind and the snow had become his greatest adversaries. In the heart of the Adirondacks, he faced the ultimate test: endure, adapt, or be claimed by the mountain's icy grip. Back home, his wife anxiously awaited updates, her mind racing with worry. Every minute felt like an hour as she paced the living room, glancing at the clock and checking her phone for any sign of him. The silence in the house was heavy, broken only by the occasional buzz of her phone, never the message she hoped for. Before he left, they had a deal. He'd check in whenever possible, no matter how brief the message. It was their way of staying connected, a small comfort for her, while he was out in the unpredictable wilderness. On Wednesday morning, her phone finally lit up. The message was short, but it sent a chill down her spine. Tired and moving slowly. She read it over and over, searching for reassurance, but found only dread. For him, that was a red flag. He was always strong, never one to admit weakness or fatigue. If he was struggling enough to say it, things must be worse than he let on. She knew the situation was serious. The weather forecast showed freezing temperatures and heavy snow moving in. She imagined him out there, exposed to the elements, with the storm closing in fast. Hours passed with no word. Her worry grew into panic as daylight faded. She replayed their last conversation in her mind, wishing she'd convinced him to wait for better weather. The silence was deafening. She pictured him alone, cold, and struggling against the snow. Every scenario her mind conjured was worse than the last. By evening, she couldn't wait any longer. The fear was overwhelming, and she knew she had to act. With trembling hands, she called the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation forest rangers. Her voice barely steady as she explained the situation. She reported him missing, sharing his last known location, the message he'd sent, and every detail she could remember. Each word felt like a lifeline, thrown into the storm. The call set the rescue in motion. Rangers began to mobilize, gathering gear and preparing for the harsh conditions ahead. Now, it was a race against time. Every second mattered as the rescue team rushed into the snowy wilderness, determined to find him before the cold claimed him. She could only hope help would reach him in time. The waiting was agony, each moment stretching endlessly as she stared out into the dark, hoping for good news. But she had done what she could. The search had begun, and now all she could do was wait and pray for his safe return. The rangers sprang into action. A missing hiker in winter is their most urgent call. They gathered details, name, route, experience, and that ominous message, tired and moving slowly. Time was critical. First, they confirmed his car was at the trailhead. He was definitely in the wilderness. The command post was set up, maps spread out, routes traced, scenarios discussed. The Dix Range is vast, over 50 square miles of rugged terrain. Searching for one person here is like finding a needle in a frozen haystack. Weather was a major concern. More snow, plunging temperatures. 20 rangers assembled, experts in mountain rescue and winter survival. They prepared to enter the same brutal conditions that had trapped the hiker. Their mission: find him, and fast. Every minute mattered. The stakes couldn't be higher. The search was on. At dawn Thursday, the search teams fanned out from the trailhead. Temperatures were frigid, the snow deep and fresh. Tracking was nearly impossible. Rangers scanned for any sign: a broken branch, a depression in the snow, a flash of color. The wind howled, swallowing their calls. The hiker was on his third day in the cold, energy gone, hypothermia a real threat. Teams focused on likely routes and sheltered spots, knowing lost hikers often behave unpredictably. They checked under trees, behind boulders, anywhere someone might try to survive. By midday, no sign of the hiker. The vastness was overwhelming. Covering the area on foot would take days, time he didn't have. The situation was critical. They needed to search faster. It was time to call for air support. The clock was ticking. The command post called in the state police helicopter, a game-changer for search and rescue. From the air, rangers could scan huge areas quickly, reaching places ground teams couldn't. The helicopter arrived carrying trained aerial observers. They searched for any anomaly: a jacket, a backpack, a person. The forest below was a sea of white and green. Spotting one person was daunting. The crew coordinated with ground teams, flying grid patterns over likely areas. The helicopter's noise was both a search tool and a beacon of hope. Every pass was filled with urgency. The hiker's life depended on their eyes. The pressure was immense. Then, a breakthrough, a flash of color on a remote ridge. The helicopter banked for a closer look. It was him. Relief surged through the crew, but the rescue was just beginning. The hiker was far from any trail, in a spot ground teams would struggle to reach. The helicopter radioed his location. Ground teams changed course, but air rescue was fastest. The pilot hovered as a ranger prepared the hoist. Lowered by cable, the ranger reached the hiker, alive, but barely. He was conscious but weak, suffering from hypothermia and frostbite. There was no time to lose. The ranger secured him in a rescue harness. The winch operator began to lift them both. The mountain fought back with wind and snow, but the crew was skilled. The rescue was underway. Inside the helicopter, the medic worked fast, wrapping the hiker in blankets, starting rewarming, assessing frostbite. The pilot set a direct course for the nearest hospital. The transition was seamless. Helicopter to ambulance, then straight to emergency care. The rangers and crew watched as the ambulance sped away, their mission complete. They had pulled someone back from the brink. It was a testament to training, teamwork, and courage. The hiker was safe from the elements, but his recovery was just beginning. The rescue had pushed everyone to their limits. In the wild, every second counts. This time, they beat the odds. The mountain had nearly claimed another life, but not today. The team had won. The hiker survived, thanks to his will, his experience, and the skill of his rescuers. His ordeal is a warning. The mountains demand respect, especially in winter. Even the best prepared can be caught off guard. Always share your plan, check the weather, and carry the right gear. The line between adventure and disaster is razor thin. This rescue shows the value of preparation and the heroism of those who answer the call. The Adirondack Forest Rangers and State Police Aviation Unit risked everything to save a life. Let this story remind us, be prepared, be smart, and never underestimate the wild. The mountain doesn't care about your plans, but if you respect it and prepare, you might just come home. Your life depends on it.